9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Specialist Group Insight segment. My name is Seth Moffat, Chair of the Flight Operations Specialist Group. On this segment, we often examine the technical aspects of aircraft operations and occurrences, but today we're taking a slightly different angle on an area that's perhaps a little bit less visible. When a serious accident occurs, the operator's responsibilities extend beyond the aircraft itself. Passenger information has to be controlled, families have to be supported, investigators and authorities have to be coordinated with, and decisions have to be made under pressure while the facts are actually still being developed. And here to discuss this with me today is Captain Ron Karo. Ron is a Boeing 737 captain whose work brings together line operations, safety management, and emergency response planning. He's led air safety work involving pilots and cabin crew, and holds a master's degree in air transport management, and has studied aircraft accident investigation and airline emergency response planning. He's even spoken on emergency response planning at the Flight Safety Foundation's Business Aviation Summit. In this conversation, though, we're going to look at family assistance as part of the wider emergency response system, and what operators can learn from the NTSB's framework, and how those principles can be applied beyond large scheduled airlines. Ron, thanks very much for joining me today. I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Seth, and thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Absolute pleasure. What first drew you to family assistance planning in the post-accident scenario, and why do you think it remains under-discussed in aviation these days?
In my case, it's a very personal story. One of my relatives, in the beginning of the 90s, he was working for an airline, like on an office job, and there was a major crash in Europe with a cargo 747 aircraft. So not many people on board, but there were dozens casualties on the ground. And that was in the beginning of the 90s, like before we had even spoken about family assistance planning. Mm-hmm. So my relative was asked to go as now we call it a special assistance team member, but without training, he was rushed into the hospitals to take care of families and survivors. And until the day of today, like he takes that experience with him. It's like traumatized by the events, by everything he saw, without being trained. So I feel it as as an opportunity to spread a message in the aviation industry, especially having done a module on crisis management during my master's degree. I've been given the opportunity to speak at the Flight Safety Foundation about this topic. And as you said, airlines have, like the bigger commercial airlines, they have like strict regulations they have to abide by. But the smaller operators like business, aviation, flight schools, like it says in the regulation, Part 5, for example, in the US, that they need to have an emergency response plan in place, but it doesn't go as deep as the airlines, that they need to have like family assistance planning set in there. So I feel it as a opportunity to spread a message and to create awareness, and hopefully improve also for the smaller operators on this aspect.
During your research and experience in this topic, where have you found that airlines and operators historically have failed families following major accidents? Are there particular areas that stand out to you?
In the 90s, families, especially in the US, and the US was actually on the forefront on creating regulations for family assistance planning. Like there had been several crashes, like with TWA 800, ValueJet 592, and also Korean Air 801. Like in the aftermath, there were a lot of families who were traumatized by the sequence of events, and they actually worked together to raise awareness of everything that lacked, like the feedback from the airlines.
Yeah.
And Congress in the U.S. actually passed an act, like the Family Support Act in 1997, and it actually was amended later in 2000, 2003. So there are actually good regulations set out there in the US and also in Europe. Like it's starting to become more mature, which is a good thing.
All airlines, as you noted earlier, have to have an emergency response plan. That's part of becoming certified. Where do they normally sort of fall short? Are there particular items that should be included in regulations when it comes to emergency response plans?
Yeah, so the most important thing like families need is like swift, compassionate notification and reliable information. That's the key.
Yeah.
And then the way you do it, like, of course, you have the regulations set out there. Like there are, for example, in the US, 18 assurances and 32 family support tasks, all set out by the NTSB in the Federal Family Assistance Plan, which are a lot of requirements and regulations.
Yeah.
So there's a lot in there for airlines, but for smaller operators, it can be quite a lot of rules and regulations to grasp because of the resources available to them. So that's where I would like to spread awareness.
In the aftermath of a major aviation accident, information is not always readily available. Yet families need information very quickly. How should an operator communicate when information is incomplete or uncertain or still evolving? What are the ground rules there?
Yeah, so it's there are like two sides of the coin, you know, like either you say too little for too long, or you say too much on a short notice. Like it's better to wait until you have all the information out there to give it to the families. But of course, if you don't know the information yet, it's perfectly fine to say that, okay, until this date, we don't have all the information available, but we're working with the next steps will be A, B, and C. So it's always good to have the communication there and show what the next steps will be.
Is this the sort of service that an airline would outsource? I know even with emergency response planning, I've been involved in airline startups where this was something that we just outsource. Is that something that can happen in this case?
Oh yeah, definitely. Outsourcing is a good thing. However, the plan has to be fit for purpose. So there are, for example, special assistance team members, like the members that go on the GO team aircraft, like after an accident. They're dispatched to the location site for the families to be there, like when they go to set up the family assistance center. Those should particularly be like in-house employees of the airline, or if you have like airline alliances, you could have like cross-country teams, like so you can have like synergies there. They could give their team members from different countries share the resources. So that's a good thing, like to have at least for the crucial steps, like to have at least your own in-house crew. On the other hand, of course, like you need to have a call center available, like an 800 free toll-free number. So that could be outsourced to a contractor. However, it's important to have like the people that working at the call center to be empathetic, like to be to care about the families, to listen and to help, and to be careful also in what to say and what not to say during those calls. Just to be caring, that's very important, because there have been instances that families have called, and it's like it can be traumatic for it is traumatic for families, so it has to be taken care in a serious way.
I read in your information that you sent that there can be primary trauma and secondary trauma. The accident itself, of course, would be traumatic in the primary sense, but then the way the follow-up is handled after the incident itself can be secondary trauma. What would you say would be some of the more easily overlooked details that cause real harm to families after an accident? The way personal effects are handled, the way people are identified. I mean, hearing about something on the news before you've been contacted by the host airline, something along those sorts of lines would have to contribute to that idea of secondary trauma, I would imagine.
Yeah, exactly. What I always say is like, as airlines, we are like we pride ourselves in that the industry is one of the safest transport modes in the world. So when things go wrong, we have to work harder to make sure that like we treat our customers, our passengers, and their families also in the best way possible. So there are a lot of ways, like, for example, families, they always have like 3 or 4 things they always ask after an accident. For example, when they call, the few questions would be like, was my loved one involved?
Yeah.
Where is my loved one? Where can I get help? Where are my loved one's belongings? So those are the typical questions we get. And as you noted, like the possessions, personal effects, like also handing over the personal effects later after the investigation is finished, can be very traumatic for family members. So, and also the manifest. Of course, nowadays with social media and the media itself is very fast on trying to figure out who was on the plane. But as an airline, we have to be more reluctant and more reserved. There are like stringent rules out there. Like, for example, the manifest can only be distributed after 3 hours to avoid instant distribution. And it has to be also it has to be preliminary and unconfirmed. So it has to be clear to the family members that it's an unconfirmed manifest yet, because it takes a long time to figure out the next of kin, to be in contact with them and to figure out who was really on the plane, who boarded, who didn't board, the night boarding. Occasionally people miss their flights, so you have to be very careful with saying who was on the plane.
That's absolutely right. It's funny that, particularly in large organizations, small details like that can be difficult to confirm in a short period of time. But in your view, and at a high level, what would a credible family assistance plan look like for a small charter operator, for an air taxi company, or even a flight school for that matter? What would something credible look like for a smaller organization like that?
The few things I would recommend is to make sure you've got the good set of people around you that are available, like on a 24/7 in emergency availability, obviously. Train them, have a plan, fit for purpose plan, preferably not only a plan that sits like on the shelf. No, the plan has to be written and acted upon. You cannot just buy the plan and think like, oh, we have it in paper and that's it. No, you have to really, every 6 to 12 months, you have to go through it. Perhaps at the airport, do some drills. Work, especially for smaller organization, it helps to work with the underwriter, like the insurance companies, because sometimes it's like synergy. You can help them out as well, because they don't know a lot of things that we know in the aviation industry. So we can learn from each other, especially ahead of the day in case you need each other. And the underwriter, they also have a lot of resources available, so that can help as well.
What would make someone unsuitable for a family assistance role? Is there a particular type of person that an organization should be looking for, or is this something that can be trained? Do we need to bring someone into the organization who has a background in a particular field, or is this purely a training requirement and that's it?
Oh no, that definitely helps if you have people with experience. It definitely helps. Like, there's no black and white answer to that. The most important thing is that you need people that are like emotional resilient and have like a service mindset, so they can help like willing to help others in a crisis. That's really, really important. And then B, like also have genuine empathy for others, because what especially for the bigger airlines, like you would like ICAO recommends to have like the size of the special assistance team should be twice the amount of the biggest capacity of the aircraft in your fleet. Because it actually is like at the Family Assistance Center, you work as a special assistance team member in shifts. Like each member works for 12 hours. So you basically cover, like you need 2 members for one family per 24-hour block. So that's the reasoning behind it. So you're going to be working as a special assistance team member for like 12 hours on a day, for days in a row. And it's not always easy. Like it's a lot of emotional stress from families. Like you have to find people that are really willing to do it, not because of financial benefit or something else. Like so selecting people is really difficult, but it's in the end, like you're doing something for others, which is very valuable. Like, so it's, I guess, in an organization, maybe in a smaller organization, people know each other more, so it's maybe easier to do the selection on that side.
Earlier, you touched on social media speculation and that sort of thing. Are social media channels advisable for operators themselves when these events happen? Should they use these channels for spreading information, or is it insensitive to spread information that way? Is this personal, one-on-one human touch preferred?
So it's a very good point you're making, because nowadays we all live in a social media environment. So imagine an airline or an operator in 2026 that wouldn't respond at all at any social media channel. That would be very bad, because then it's like silence. So, but most of the operators, they have and it's not only for family assistance planning, but it's basically for all the crisis managements, because there are so many risks out there, like cybersecurity. There are many crises. Like they used to call them blue swan events, but I'm like, no, it's not, because you know them in advance. So the airlines know that something can happen tomorrow, so they have or they should have a social media plan, or just a media plan as well. Like their social media, like after, you see that often after a crash, that the airline, the social media goes like the logos, they go like in grayscale, and they immediately issue out like messages, and all these messages are of course like thought of in advance. So they should have some kind of a crisis plan for the initial hours, so they can distribute, like they can just copy and paste and of course amend it, but at least they have some kind of a structure what to send out, because it can be very overwhelming the first hours.
That makes sense. The responses when they go out should not only be geared towards the general public and informing the media, but it should also be designed to be received by the families who may or may not be involved in the event itself, a highly sensitive area.
Yeah, what the thing that can be very helpful for airlines to distribute on social media is the toll-free 800 telephone number. That's the one thing you will always see after a crash. Airlines will always distribute that out first, because they want the families to be directly in contact with them, because not all, like, of course, passengers are asked when they fly, like, okay, what are your next of kin details? But most of the passengers, they don't even fill it out, because it's not a requirement. Like if you don't fill it out, the airline doesn't know who to contact. So
that's a good point.
It's like it should, like, the airlines are actually waiting for the families to contact them, because most of the times, like, and even if you have a phone number, maybe people don't pick up. So it's
It is a good point. I know as a passenger myself, sometimes, particularly when you're in a hurry to check in and you get to that point of the check-in process, it's very easy to skip past that and move on to the next step in the process because you're in a hurry, or you just don't think something like that's going to happen. It's definitely a point worth considering. How long would a plan like this go on for? I mean, you would have the event itself and then the immediate aftermath, and then eventually people would be identified, families would be informed, arrangements would be made, and then is that it? Is it over at that point, or is this something that would continue for a period of time? What's the norm in that sense, or is there one?
So you have a lot of milestones. Basically, as you pointed, after the accident, you have like the family, like you have the triage, and then you have the reception center for families and relatives, and then you transition that one into family assistance centers, and then they'll like the personal effects will come in, and then passengers or families would actually have to give dental records. So that's all part of it, and then afterwards, like the key milestone from the NTSB, for example, or from the Air Accident Investigation Branch, would be that after a year or so, the investigation should be finished, and then you also have like a monument for the families and the survivors. So, and actually after the monument, of course, you have like annual sessions at the monument. So it actually never stops. That's the key message here. Like after a crash, like you must have had a crash close to where you live, where there's like a monument, and like every year there's a session there actually.
Yes, actually, I can think of one off the top of my head. Yeah. Actually, two. To come to think of it, I can think of two. It's an interesting topic as a pilot to discuss with you, because I know certainly in my own technical flying training, we get as far as dealing with an emergency, getting on the runway and evacuating. And then that's usually where the training ends. We just assume that the airlines got that covered somehow.
That's one side of the story. And I always tell the other side, because we're at the tip of the iceberg in the flight deck, because you're talking about the right side, like the wrong side, but actually the right side of the iceberg. And I'm always talking about the left side of the iceberg, because once we take off, like all the things that have been done before for us to take off, like most of the things we don't even know about. So you have the left side and then you have the wrong side.
Ron, absolutely fascinating topic. And thank you very much for taking the time to join me today and discuss it with me. And now that I know a little bit more about it, it's definitely worthwhile work. And the industry certainly needs people like you around who can look after that for us. So thank you very much. And thanks for everything that you do for the Aeronautical Society.
It was a pleasure. Thank you very much for the invitation. And if there are listeners out there that would like to have more information, please reach out to me. I'm happy to help to assist with this matter, because it's a very important topic.
Yes, absolutely. And if that is the case, if you contact us at the Flight Operations Specialist Group, we can certainly pass on Ron's information. So great. Ron, thank you very much.
Thank you, Seth.